This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, last week we got a lot of work done on this table seating area here. We worked on the forward cabins and the water tanks, and most important, we moved that Victron equipment.
Yeah, we took it from under the forward bunk and took it to the stern bunk. And now we didn't actually do it, that's just a design change, but we did get a lot of work done. And this week, regardless of rainstorms, we're gonna get a whole ton of things done on the boat. And we wanna show you all of those things, so let's jump right to it. Came through the biggest rainstorm in the last like 50 years. Lasted for days and days. And that means that the lot is a muddy mess right now. We don't want to work on that, the boat there, because it's too muddy. We're tracking mud all over inside, going up and down. And the other thing is that we're not done. There are 2 more storms coming this week. So as you can see out there, it's nasty cloudy looking. Not raining right this minute, but it will be raining on and off for the next few days. So what we decided to do is come to my garage and continue work. We're going to build the rudders. And so we've got our metal portions already built in South Africa for us. But we need to put the foam, which is this PVC foam you see back here, the green stuff. And we need to build that onto these. And then once they're shaped and made, then we can glass the outside of them and get that all done. So we're going to start figuring out measurements and all that fun stuff and start getting these shaped and made. The big rains are over at last, and there is a lake over here and quite a bit of mud. Fortunately, we don't have to work over there. So now we'll go see where the water's gotten into the boat. Like I say, got mud and we had the boat as wrapped up as we could, but that doesn't mean that there's no water inside, because it rained a lot. For example, we got a little lake in that compartment right there. That's probably the worst one. Don't know how it got in there. I'm going to guess, though. Go upstairs and find out. As I suspected, water came in from getting under the tarps and dripping through the holes we have in here for the mainsail track. And then that flooded down the bottom here. And that ran down to the step and off into that compartment where we had the water. Now, fortunately, other than that, the rest of the boat in here is all dry. And looks dry down in the holes. A couple cups of water in one of those, not much. And dry in this side as well. Okay. So we just have one leak that we have to clean up. So we'll vacuum all this up and then clean out that compartment over there and get that water out of there. Not too hard. All right, I've been working for like an hour to get this rudder traced out into the piece of foam we're going to use, because it's a very difficult shape and there weren't quite enough measurements. So here's the final result, what the rudder shape's going to be. And mostly there were certain measurements that we had that we could figure it out. The rudder post sits right here, and it's about this wide. It's very close to the width. And then it has some cross members that go like this. There's 3 of them, one there, one here, and one down towards here. So it's going to fit in there. The one thing that we had trouble on is top, because they called for a 9-degree angle right here, but we went and checked the actual hull, and this should match the hull, and the hull's a 14-degree angle. So we decided to go ahead and cut it at the 9-degree that it calls for in the plan, build the whole rudder, put it in the boat before we glass it, just with a foam rudder, and then we'll see if it fits. And if it doesn't, it's just foam, and we can shave it down to the point where the angle's proper on the boat. So we're going to cut it at the angle that they requested in the plans, but we expect that eventually it's going to be out at about this angle over here instead of this black line. So we'll find out. But by taking this measurement this way, we're only cutting more off rather than having to add to it. So that's what we're going to do. Now there's 4 of these, because one of these goes on each side, sandwiched with the posts in between them. And then this is not thick enough, so we have to add some pieces on top. So what I did there, and I'm going to show you this right now, is figuring out where we're going to put this foam and where it needs to be shaved properly was really a difficult thing. So finally what I decided to do was just model this thing in 3D, and then I could put foam in the 3D model and make sure that it was completely covering all of the rudder portions. So that's what I did, and this is the model right here. So this is what the finished product is aiming at in my model right here. And so I started though by modeling with just the rods. And so I made these from the plans, and the plans is what they used at the machine shop to make the metal rods I got from South Africa. So the two are virtually identical. And I used the plans to create this very accurate sized piece in as far as a model goes. And that way I could start layering in my foam, and this is how the panels I have these big rectangles, and there'll be one on sandwiching on each side of it like that. But you'll notice that it doesn't cover the entire rod. It covers the horizontal rods, but not this vertical larger post. It sticks out of the foam. And so that's why I had to put on, will have to put on pieces of foam like this that I glue on the outside. Now that piece I have, that's how long it is, and it's still not covering the bottom part. So I'll add a third piece on here, thinner, that will go down and get that. So this is the rectangles that I'll start with, but of course we're going to cut out the shape of the rods. So that would look like this. So we'll cut those out even though they're stepped like that, and add of course that third one on the bottom. And so we'll eventually have these, and we'll glue these on to the post, and this will become the rudder, except of course the outside isn't shaped right. So then we'll start shaping this outside, and when we're all finished with that outside, it'll look like this, hopefully. So that's what we're going to do, and by doing this model I could see where I had to put those add-on pieces on here to make sure it covers. The other thing this model did for me is it allowed me to make sure that the teardrop shape of the board will be able to fit within these pieces. So if you see this dark line right here, it's the outer shape of it. It makes it through all of the foam here all the way around, and zoom out a little bit here, and goes right through the foam everywhere. So that when I go to shape the outside, the shape is enough foam there to encompass the shape of it. And I had to do that at 3 different levels. These also were doing the shape, but on the inside of those. So because these diagrams here have 3 levels, and these 3 levels correspond to the locations that I have put these on the board right here. So I moved that top one up a minute ago just so I could show you, but it actually goes down at the very top here. But those are the 3 levels they gave me measurements at, and so I could tie those into the shape of this and make sure that it's right. Okay, so at this point we now know from that model where we need to glue on extra pieces so that we have enough foam to shape the curvature of this rudder. So that's the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to cut the pieces that get bonded on here and then glue them on to these right now. And so that's next up. We'll have those set up tonight, and we'll be ready to carve this turkey on Friday. All right, now we're working on electronics panel, and we're going to be gluing those little supports on right there. And upstairs in the, excuse the messy boat, because of the rain, we haven't cleaned all the way up yet other than water, but we've got these supports in here gluing for the hatch, and we've glued in all of the conduits permanently now, so they're done. Also have a little repair we had to do on the corner right there. It wasn't quite perfect, so we fixed it. So lots of little stuff. And now we got to figure out where we want to put these supports. So let me show you what today's issue is, and of course our solution. So this is our nav station area, and it's going to have 2 computer monitors right here. And then there'll be some boat electronics over here, things like the Trident 2 navigation system, autopilot things, radio, that kind of stuff. So it's all going to be right here, all electronics. And then up here is a hatch and another hatch here, and those are going to be able to be opened out. And the issue is the top of that hatch sits around here somewhere, and moisture could drop down onto this electronics stuff from either of these. And we just know it's going to do that. And so what we want to do is create a system here to keep water off of our electronics. We can't have it poured down even onto the desktop because there's going to be a laptop sunken down into a holder right here, and that water would collect down there. So it's a whole issue there. So what we're doing is we're creating these little pieces, and they're going to attach to the back side here of this, like so. So there's one there, and then there's another one that's going to be over here, sitting back here. And what those do, it's leaving a gap at the back of maybe, I don't know, 30 millimeters, 1.5 inches or so. Water that gets back here is going to hit that and run off and then fall off the back edge. And back where it falls is going to be right here. So it's going to drip down right here and land right here. And we're going to put a trough here by taking a conduit, cutting it in half, and putting it in here. And that trough's going to run all the way down here, where we're going to be putting a hole through at the corner. So it'll run all the way down, go down through that hole, and that'll go to a tube that runs down to a bilge where there's a bilge pump. So any water that does get in here, it's going to run off, fall off into that trough, and off it goes. So that keeps it off the electronics But that's not the whole solution, because there's a bigger problem than that. Put this back in place. That water could drip and land on the face of this instead of back here. Sure, some might drop back there, but from the top edge of the hatch up here, it's going to fall and possibly land right on the face of this, because it's actually down at more of an angle like that. And so it could land onto the face of the monitors and other equipment. And that's a problem too. So what we're going to do there is we're going to add a plexiglass piece that runs the full length of this, like this, all the way down here. And when you're sitting at the desk, it'll be like this, so you have no problem seeing the monitors and that kind of stuff. But if moisture drops from the top of the hatch, it'll hit this, run down, and go into our collection system back there in that other trough. Now we'll make this piece here out of a smoke plexiglass, so it'll be somewhat transparent, but also block some light. And that way also you get a side benefit here of, if you've got sunlight coming in onto your monitors, so you've got a shade with a dark plexiglass over the top that'll shade the monitor here and allow you to see the monitors and stuff in the bright daylight a lot better. So it acts as a moisture system to go down, and it also to block it, and it also acts as a sunlight block. And so a lot of work to get this to do this, but there's no chance water isn't going to get on here, so we better deal with it in our design right now. The first thing we have to do is glue these pieces on the back of this, and also these angle supports, which are what gives this the proper angle here. These sit back here, and that's what keeps this from tilting like that once these go down. Now, one of the interesting things is that this plexiglass piece and these will be permanently attached to this piece here. And so when this rotates, this is upside down. When this rotates down like this, this is going to come down and stop us about right there, the plexiglass piece. But that's okay, because this is enough access to the back here to get to the electronics if we need to change something or work on them. It's plenty of access there. And this little piece that's going to be sitting on here, again, is not going to stop us from getting to the electronics there. So these two pieces will be permanently attached, and they'll just rotate with this piece as it goes up and down. So that's what we're planning. Like I say, it's quite a problem. And you know, if you didn't have hatches here, it wouldn't be a problem, but we don't want water dripping on this stuff. Now what Brian's doing is coring the edges of those braces. So this is going to sit like this, and these three edges here will be exposed all the time because it's going to rotate with this board. The only one we don't have to core is here because it's getting glued down here. And then we already have these ones cored that go here. Same thing, they have to be cored around here because that's permanently exposed, but the bottom's glued on here. And then we'll have to put a little tab along all these because we can't have just foam glued. Now that plexiglass piece I mentioned, that visor we'll call it, we don't have to have that right now to build this whole thing. We can get this whole thing built and installed and all that stuff, and then order that piece of plex. Oh, it can't work anymore up on the nav station or on the daybed table because there's stuff curing there. So we're back in the forward cabin on the port side, and these soles are nearly ready to go in. So we're on the last thing we have to do. We're just going to tab this one. We already tabbed the one in there. We're going to tab this one right now. So Brian's got me some thickened epoxy, which I'm going to put on the bottom of these, because there's a little ridge along here. So we just put some thickened epoxy here. And then we can smooth that ridge out before we put down the glass. So now Brian will mix me up some straight epoxy, and we'll put a tab along the bottom of these L brackets. And we have to move over to the starboard side and get to work doing the same thing in that forward cabin. It's partway done, but it's not completely done. So we'll get over there, but we may get these two soles glued in here today, and so we'll be done with this, and these buoyancy compartments will be sealed up on this side of the boat. There's already one over here done, which is in the sail locker, and now we've got these two here, and then there's some towards the stern back there as well that will be more positive buoyancy. Well, lots of that. Now it's going to rain tomorrow all day, so I was talking to you guys a few minutes ago about the nav station and water coming in through the hatches, and we have to make special troughs and blah, 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 to keep the water from getting on the electronics. Because that's much on our mind right now, having had the most rain in the last week that we've had in 40, 50 years here. And so everything's wet. We had to dry out a lot and pump out a lot and just get this boat dried out again, so we get back to work on it, which is what we're doing today. But it's going to start raining again tomorrow. So it'll rain all day tomorrow and some on Friday. It's okay. That will not stop the work, because we've got those rudders that we've been working on, and we're going to move to my garage to start the process of shaping them with sanders into the actual spade rudder shape that it needs to be. Right now it's going to be very boxy because we glue together a bunch of foam pieces, but we need to start smoothing that into those spade rudders. So a lot of work to go on that, and that's what we're going to do Friday. Now Saturday is not supposed to rain again, so we'll probably be back onto the lot Saturday. Begin with water cleanup again, because it'll have collected some water in a few places, although we only had one really bad spot where water got in, and I know how it got in, and we're going to prep the boat to get that water out today, so that hopefully come Saturday we don't have to clean up as much. Okay, so here comes Brian, and we will get to rolling these. I'll start over here. So I've got the two ends done. I just got to do the big long middle pieces. So he's going to mix me another batch of epoxy. Now I am going to sit here and wait. Okay. Now for the final two. Hold this. Okay, so we got these all tabbed around here. They don't require peel ply, because they're just about to get sealed up and never seen ever again. So we don't need peel ply in here. So next up is this compartment, and all that's left to do on this one is it's just dirty. I just need to clean the walls, get all the dust out of here, and then we're ready to glue the sole on top of there. All right, we're going to put a bead down now and get this sole put on here. Okay, now how do I get out of here? I got nothing to stand on. All right, the sit down. The sit down method. Okay. About when that line is on your side there. Then down it goes. You're right. Pointed at it and needed it. Excellent. Now a little locking on it. Oops. That means next up is the one I'm standing on. Down below here. Okay, so it's ready to go as well.
Step over, grab your plucker tool.
My hook, Captain Hook. Captain Hook can go in right in this corner, I believe. Okay. Got to pull the peel ply. I just realized. Over the peel ply pulling table. Okay, let's get another sole into this cabin area. Next phase right now is we've got to seal all the way around the edges on the top, and we have to do that right now because, as I mentioned, it's going to be raining all day tomorrow, and if the water got in here and went down any crack, it would get into this compartment. We can never get it out. So we got to make sure that this is well sealed today so that water can't get in there ever. So Brian's mixing up epoxy for us to do that. This one's going to be a bit more difficult because there's a couple of gaps up in these top corners here and across the back there a little bit. So we can't fill that with epoxy, it's too big of a gap. So we're cutting in some little filler foam pieces that we'll put with epoxy and fill those in. It's going to take quite a bit of epoxy to do this. I had Brian mix up a max batch for me, but it probably won't be enough. So he'll probably be mixing one more batch to do this. So while Brian's mixing, I just looked up the water makers that we're going to buy from, what's the name of that company? C-Pro? Anyway, the membranes they're using are 21 gallons and they're 40 inches long, and that's not going to fit in that compartment over there. This is only 36. This is 47. So it will fit in here. So it looks like the water maker, at least the membranes are going to go in here. So I might put the membranes here, the water maker pumps and such there, and the panel to work it out there where we can get to it. All right, I've got to get going here. I got epoxy. almost there. Just need a little bit more epoxy. I got a little bit there and this other end here to fill in. And then I will be done, and this will be completely sealed, so when it rains on Thursday, tomorrow, and any water gets in here, it'll just pool inside of here instead of seeping down into our buoyancy tank, which would have been really bad. So it's good to get this completely sealed today. I think I'm gonna get out of here. Friday, after a massive rainstorm again. We are just not enjoying the rain. As you can see, we're living in a lake over here now. Fortunately, we don't have to do anything out that way, but there's water, you know, all over the place. And we already spent the last hour since we got here bailing out and mopping up and things where water got in on through the tarps into the boat, but it's all cleaned out now. But this is the fun of building outdoors, I tell you. What we're doing here, though, we're finally getting to work here, and so we've got our rough foam pieces for these, and the next thing we have to do is figure out where the rudder actually sits in here. And I know approximately where it sits. It sits approximately right there, like that. I know that because there's a flat section here out on the end, and you can see it on this one. There's a little flat section before it angles up, and the rudder post goes right in where this flat section is. And so that's here. And then I also know that the little end of this side piece here comes about that far out from there. So the next thing we're going to do is get a perpendicular line centered here that we can run down there so we can get the angle of this correct. So for that, first thing I need to know is where this sits. And if we take a perpendicular line off of this, which need to be centered on this, so the center of this is right here. All right, so we've drawn by laying this on here and getting all the measuring done, and this is where this goes. So what we have to do is we have to carve in half of one of these so that it sits down in here. Same thing, half the width of one of these so that it all sits down into here, because the other half that goes on top will do this, the other half of it there. So we need to carve this out. So we're going to give it a try with this little sanding drum and see if that works. We'll see. So what we're doing now is we've taken measurements at each one of these struts, how deep it needs to go, and we're just taking it down to that depth on all three of these. Once we know the depths here, we can connect the two in a slope, because this is a taper on here. So we've got 20 millimeters there and 23.5 here, so I just need to do 26 millimeters here. So hold on to this. So that's our depths. So now we have our three target depths, and we just have to connect them here. We got it. This is the other side. This would be the starboard one, and it's sealed up in there. nicely. So next, and we'll start this tomorrow probably. I'm gonna start rounding these into the shape here of this. So I know it looks really odd, but the shape of this comes down right through that corner, and then right through that corner there. Same thing here. It comes down and around, and then back to that corner. So that's the way it works. This morning we're going to try and get this seat in here. We've got some supports in here already, but we're going to put the two back ones in, and then we're going to try to glue the top down on here. And if we can get to it, we'll get this piece glued in that hides away the conduits back there. So that's what's up. We've got Jeff here helping today, and he's down working on the piece that goes back here and just adjusting it a little bit. So just cleaning up all of the edges everywhere. He's already cleaned all this stuff over here and over here and over there. Meanwhile, Brian's down below here mixing up some epoxy, and he'll bring that up to us. And we're going to glue this top in, and at the same time we glue the top in, we're going to glue in the last two supports that go here and here, because we can clamp them with the top as it goes down. All right, let's get this done. We're over on the starboard side of the boat, and we're going to put the forward cabin soles in here. So we've already got all of the L brackets attached here, and we've already tabbed them on everywhere. So that's all tabbed and ready to go. So Brian's mixing up some thickened epoxy right now, and we'll get that on there and get that down. And then we just got this one prepped over here too, so we'll get this one in today as well. And Jeff's gonna supply me with stuff, so as I need the different soles in here, he'll hand them over, and then I'll stuff them in. Okay, epoxy has arrived. Off we go. Just like that. Now we just need Brian. Bring me some more epoxy so I can seal the outer edge around here. And this will be forever more sealed up. And we'll get this one, same thing. On to the next. Like everything, we tab everything. So once this is all glued in well, then we'll and set up, we'll come back through here and run tabs on all this.
So this week we got a lot of important work done on the rudders. both port and starboard, worked on coring out the inside so that it fits.
And as I mentioned in the title of this, these are our orca snacks. And hopefully when we're over there in Portugal or near Gibraltar, the orcas don't find us and munch on our rudders as they seem to like to do. Fortunately for us, of course, we have kick-up rudders. So if we do see orcas and before they get our rudders, we can raise them out of the water and hopefully they'll get bored and leave us alone. But anyway, that was just a joke. These are our rudders, and we still got to do the outside shaping, and we're going to get to that next week. But for this week, thank you for sticking through the whole video with us if you're still here, and we appreciate you.
And thank you to our patrons listed here. We appreciate you. Could not do this project without you guys. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
That's it. I guess I must have been saying a bad word because that train leaped me. But next week, we hope to get a lot of work done down in the hulls because we're going to start with the diesel tanks and getting the subfloor or top of the diesel tanks in. And but we're going to be concentrating for a little while here on all of those tanks that are down in the hulls and getting them all finished up so that we can get the soles glued down and start building the walls up for the heads. And somewhere along the way, we'll start shaping these rudders as well. So we'll see you next week for all of that fun.
Yep, bye.